So I want to ask another question now for the panel is, how do you explain the rise and the role that fintech is playing in the ecosystem? So, obviously various experts have talked about it in terms of the rise of fintech as a whole globally. Singapore is a great example of that from a global standpoint, London, Hong Kong, New York. But in this region, there's also a growing trend and rise in that. So I mean, going back to the regional point of view, first of all, Suleiman, do you want to elaborate quickly on that role and rise of fintech as in the Middle East as a whole? Sure. And then maybe you could relate to Jordan.
Sure. There are two angles to it, Richie, when it comes to the fintech developments that we have seen and witnessed over the last 5-ish years, right? So it all boils down to the motivation as to why these developments have already had started in various countries and geographies. And the motivation for one country might totally differ from the other country. What was common though is opening the space for entrepreneurs and new business owners and founders, new business founders, to thrive. Really, because one key characteristic of the digital economy, Richie, is that it's a moment in time in our history that offers equal opportunity to everyone on earth, really, to innovate and grow. And I think that is why countries who are less privileged are actually moving at higher speeds than others. Why? Because they want to grab this opportunity, and it's real, and it's material, right? It's significant. So the speed at which countries were progressing were actually driven by their socioeconomic motivation. So that is one angle to it, which is opening the space for fintechs and for entrepreneurs and new and business founders to thrive, to innovate and thrive and participate in the growth of the local digital economy in which these companies and enterprises were actually established. And that's why at the very beginning, we actually saw, and maybe throughout, not only at the very beginning, it actually continued up until very recently, and some of that is still happening. We saw some sort of a competition in the region in terms of onboarding entrepreneurs and offering them the best acceleration packages, right? The best incubation packages. So we saw competition. We saw VCs competing over entrepreneurs and startups. We saw fintech hubs also competing over creating the best spaces and so forth, so on. Now, luckily, this has already passed. So the hype cycle of doing fintechs for the sake of innovating and creating companies, no matter what. I must say some of that was no matter what. Okay, is now coming to an end, and now from now on there is more thoughtfulness that's being put into the establishment of these new enterprises. And why do we see that positive at our end? Because we sit at the demand end of the ecosystem, right? As a union of Arab banks representing 300 plus commercial and investment banks in the region, we see that movement and that transition from creating fintechs for the sake of creating fintechs to creating fintechs to meet the demand of the incumbent banks. And also what we have started to see, and I think this is a point that we would want maybe to cover next in the conversation, is the partnerships that are starting to exist and establish between the fintechs and the banks is actually what we have been waiting for to happen in our region. So the developments that have happened over the last years were very good in terms of really providing a boost of and creating some sort of competitiveness in the region, and also the jealousy of wanting to be in the space. Also the awareness of around fintech becoming a career path, and also a venture that newcomers into the world of business would actually want to pursue. So these are all really good signs and good already good foundational elements that we can build upon for a more sustainable fintech dynamics into the future. So what we have seen so far is not necessarily the best version of the fintech dynamics. What we are starting to see now, and the shift from the shift that we are starting to see now is sending a lot of good messages for a sustainable ecosystem towards moving to the future.
Excellent.